Before we jump into this episode, I just wanted to come and give a warning that the issues that we discuss in this episode are sensitive. And if you struggle with mental health, it may trigger an unwanted response. And so I also want to state that none of us are mental health professionals. And that what we talk about on this podcast is not a replacement for getting professional help. If you need to talk to someone, Texas A&M has a helpline, and if you're struggling with suicidal thoughts, tendencies, or plans, I implore you to call the suicide hotline. Both of these, as well as other helpful resources, will be linked in the description, whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening to the podcast. And now let's get into the video. Welcome to the Ask an Aggie podcast, where we are exploring the ins and outs of college life here in College Station. We want you to have the best college experience you can, so listen in as we dive into relevant topics that will help you navigate this new and exciting stage of life.
Well, hey guys, welcome back to the Ask an Aggie podcast. It's a serious topic we're covering today, and today, as always, we have Asher Artizoni.
What's up, guys?
And also on the couch with Asher today is Aaron Macias. Aaron, introduce yourself to us.
Yeah, I'm Aaron. I'm class of 20, so I just graduated this May. I've known these guys for a while now, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so we have a serious topic today. We're talking about the counseling services. And just on some brief research, anxiety and depression are the top concerns for college students. And both you guys were willing to actually be honest and vulnerable with us today. So we appreciate that. This is not an easy conversation. This isn't fun necessarily. But I hope you see the value of having this conversation for the future student and what they're about to walk into. Because the data proves that students have more anxiety and depression problems than they even have relationship or job problems. That's what, when I was going through school, that I worried about, and now it's only growing in these mental health. And so, Aaron, we're going to bring you in first on this. Tell us a little bit about your mental health journey and kind of how you found out about this and what's been going on since.
Right. So I guess this kind of journey started really freshman year of college. I did suffer from some anxiety in high school, but it wasn't like debilitating, I guess. And then in college, I just remember going home and then just not being able to function, just anxious about everything. Couldn't pinpoint exactly what situations were making me anxious. And then sophomore year, it got really bad. The kind of depression side of it kicked in, and I didn't realize it. I just kind of equipped it to me being lazy, and kind of equated it to me being lazy, and I couldn't get out of bed. There were several weeks that I didn't go to class at all.
Wow.
Like I could not get out of my bedroom, and I really did just think it was me being lazy, and I couldn't tell anybody about it because I was kind of ashamed. I felt ashamed about it, and so I told my two closest friends, Annie and Lily, and I said, "This is what's going on. I don't know what's going on," and they kind of we spoke about it, and they kind of guided me to go seek help. I did go to a doctor, and I did get medications to kind of alleviate that. And then I was kind of going okay for the rest of the year. And then summer came around between sophomore and junior year. And I was driving back to College Station late at night from home. I'm from Houston, so it's a little under 2 hours, so it's not too far. And I just had a panic attack, and I had no idea what was coming over me. I thought I was dying. I would have called 911 had I had functioning hands to do so. And it was, and so ever since that, I guess it kind of just like worsened after that. And junior year, I was struggling a lot with the mental health. And I was just going to see counselors and doctors and just trying to figure out the right mix of things that I needed to kind of alleviate that. And it's just kind of how the journey went. And it's kind of an ongoing battle still, but I got the help that I needed.
Because you're in a healthier place now. You're nowhere close to cured.
Right.
And in a lot of ways, this isn't a curable thing. But really, it's been with you for your 4 years here. And it really seriously presented itself to you when you got to college. Asher, so Aaron's kind of starts here. I believe, knowing your story, anxiety especially has just been a battle for a few years now.
Yeah, so I come from a family that we all struggle with mental health. Besides my younger sister, all of us are medicated for
Right.
anxiety,
Yeah.
depression, what other mental illnesses we have. And so, I mean, I started having anxiety, like the first time it was really noticeable was in elementary school. There were times like I couldn't go to school, like the first couple of days of school, because I was just so anxious about it, but I wasn't able to pinpoint this is anxiety and like this is what the problem is that needs to be fixed. And so the first time that I really sought help was coming into freshman year of high school. I just had some thoughts that needed to be addressed, that were dangerous and that they needed to be talked about. And so I saw a counselor for, a few weeks, and really just like, for me, it was like a push, like in the right direction in a way to get, some guidance and some help in this one particular area and present some coping mechanisms for the future. And so going throughout high school, I'm usually okay. I'm usually not anxious, but it comes periodically. And so there was a time where I was really just struggling for, a couple months on end with like, okay, like I'm constantly anxious, just based on some situations that were going on in my life. And so I sought counseling again. It didn't really work too great for me at first. And then I ended up getting put on medication, and I'm still medicated, just on a low dose for anxiety, and it's actually an antidepressant, so it helps with that as well. But then coming into college, the first year I was fine. Second year, so my first semester sophomore year is when I first like used counseling services. I knew that was a step I could take, and so it made it really easy here because it was free. I could just go, I could schedule an appointment, and I actually found a counselor who was Christian, so he shared my beliefs, and he was able to guide me, and I found just so much more success, especially in that, where we came from a common mindset and a common worldview, and really found success through that at A&M.
Well, cool. I'm glad you guys, once again, this is not the easiest thing to just put in the internets and, let anyone hear. But and both of you have shared with me in the past that this is something that kind of has run in family. And this is common to your family. But for someone who goes, I don't know if I'm anxious. I don't know if I'm depressed. I know as someone who has never experienced this yet, I immediately jump to depression means like suicidal thoughts, and it's an extreme.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people walking the halls, walking the dorm rooms, all that sort of stuff with depression. So what are some signs that you guys, as you said, I began feeling anxious? What are some things, and Aaron, you can start us today. What were some of those things that like would be triggers that you would say that's anxiety?
Right. Like I said, I think 2020 hindsight is so much easier to identify those things. So I can kind of see now the places that I was, just now that I'm no longer there. Earlier we talked about dreading things. If you start to dread like the things that you're used to doing or the things that you enjoy, then that could be a sign. I dreaded going to class, and that's not something I enjoy, but that's something that I know is required of me as a student. Also, I became really irritable. I might not have been like a good friend at times, and it just became kind of like a common, like I didn't want to be around people. People kind of annoyed me or made me angry, and just honestly speaking, I just didn't enjoy being around people during that time. Also, this one's pretty common, and it's easy to kind of be disguised by college as being like extreme exhaustion. You might not be getting the rest that you're getting, but I found at times I would get more rest than I needed, but it was never enough. I was never able to function.
Unquenchable need.
Yeah, it just needed
rest.
to, and I feel like that's the most well known, but it's still really hard to identify when you're in college and you're expected to be up late working on homework or papers and whatnot. And I don't know, we just need more sleep because we're still growing, I guess. I don't know the science behind it, but
some of us weren't still growing. But,
but yeah, so those are kind of the things that I see. And
Asher, would you add any to
those that you felt? The first thing I would say is do your own research. Okay. Because there's so many, like we can share our experience, but there's so many different ways that it manifest. And one thing that's actually really helpful on campus is I actually went through an anxiety workshop that talked about how anxiety is manifest in different people, how to cope with that. And that was, I think it was like a 2 or 3 week class where I sat down with a group of other students and was able to talk through that with a licensed counselor or psychologist, whatever it was. And so, the only thing I would really add is for me, especially with anxiety, is there's often a physical aspect Okay. For me, if I'm anxious, like I will feel my heart drop. I'll get like a tight chest, like hard to breathe. And Aaron's like,
I think
yeah,
he understands this
you know,
as well.
No, can't eat.
Yeah, you
Trouble
can't
eating,
eat, trouble eating.
Just shaking, your hands
and
shake.
then just a serious like aversion to facing my problems is kind of a big aspect of it for me.
And one thing I've learned from you guys, I think about myself, there's things that I'm anxious over, right? Like the first time I walked into the gym, I'm anxious. You're anxious about asking a girl out on a date. There's things that cause you to be nervous, I guess, that I would qualify as anxious or I'm worried about this. But this anxiety you guys are talking about is this deeper kind of rooted in you at times.
Yeah, it's rooted and there's a biological component to it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that pushed me to get help is to realize that a lot of this is rooted in chemical imbalances.
Yeah.
And things that can be
It's not just
helped.
a weakness on your point.
I think that's the biggest thing.
And the things that you were bringing up as examples, those are like one-time things or kind of bigger events.
Yeah.
But we were or at least I was experiencing these things on everyday events, or I'm not able to complete everyday tasks that I once was able to.
Yeah, because I think the water gets muddied somewhat, unfortunately, because we all want to be busy. We all want to act like we have too much going on. We all want to be anxious about something that it almost is the boy crying wolf, where the people who really are anxious and the people who really are depressed, it's kind of almost got a cult-like aspect to it, unfortunately. So how many people in your life, and we don't know how big your friend group is necessarily, but how many people would you have walked into or who would have known that you struggled with anxiety or depression? And Asher, we'll go to you first on this one.
Yeah, so currently,
this is before we're now putting it out to the thousands upon thousands.
Yeah, of course,
listen.
the thousands upon thousands. Follow us on Instagram.
Yeah.
But almost all of my friends know.
Okay.
I try to be very open about it, especially because that's helpful for me.
Yeah.
It's talking about it. So all of my roommates, my whole family, anyone that's struggled with it as well, like I'll share with them. Anyone in my Bible study, I'm pretty open about it, just because like I want other people to get help as well, and so I'm definitely not quiet about it.
Yeah. Aaron, what about you?
I'd feel like I'm kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do know about it now because those panic attacks would happen publicly.
Yeah, because Aaron's
what happens
presented itself in much more serious ways that were
Of
very
course.
debilitating
Yeah.
and
Right.
would pretty much just render you unable to move at times.
Yeah. And so people who are kind of around for that, I might take some time to acknowledge it, just because I don't want that to be the elephant in the room with them. But other than that, I don't speak too much about it. I'm still kind of trying to process it. This is the first time I've ever shared it on a platform. But I will talk about it with people that I think it could help. Or
because I know that Aaron, he was my Bible study leader freshman year, and he spoke to me about his struggle with it and was able to give me advice as well.
Yeah. I have two ways that we want to just kind of end this today.
Yeah.
One is for the student who either is coming to A&M already with maybe mental illness and family history or has experienced this in high school, what they can do. And then we're also going to say at the end, we'll follow up with, what if I'm a roommate to somebody or my friend is? Because that can be overwhelming as well. So let's start on the what if, what would your advice be to a student who comes in and begins either feeling these anxieties or already has this? How can they stay healthy or try to remain healthy while they're here?
Yeah, so I think the primary thing is get help. It's there. A&M counseling services,
and that's free.
It's free.
Okay, and they'll meet with you for how long?
I think they're 45-minute sessions.
Right. I don't remember too much, but I remember being an initial session to where they kind of evaluated what you needed.
Yeah, and there's different there's aspects 10 visit limit per issue, whatever it is. I don't want to, don't quote me on that. But also do your research. Try to learn about this issue.
Okay.
And just get help. Don't be silent about it. That's the biggest thing. Is trying to walk this battle alone is foolish, if not selfish, and dangerous.
Yeah. Aaron, what other advice would you add to that?
Yeah, I would like agree that you shouldn't do this alone. It's really impossible. I tried, and I think that we've spoken on some of the symptoms, and there are many more symptoms.
Sure.
So even if you feel one or two of them, and there's kind of a change in your habits or a change in your personality, then speak to a friend about it. Seek guidance at a counselor or even a doctor.
And I'd say even like there's no shame in going to seek counseling from a healthy place.
Okay. So like even if they go and they say, hey, you don't have anxiety, even if you feel like you may, like it's worth
like,
reaching
and
out,
I
spending
even
an hour and a half.
one thing that I've done is coming from a healthy place where like, okay, I'm not struggling with anxiety right now. I'm gonna go to talk and make things come to light just in case it comes back, and try to work through it from that aspect.
Yeah. One thing I found helpful was I found like a steady doctor. Like I was kind of going back and forth to my doctor at home, my primary care physician, but I found a doctor here on campus, and I kind of just stuck with him through the journey so that we were able to figure out what was best for me.
Okay.
And
so
rather than going home, and I just went to Butyl and I said,
so it's on campus,
right.
It's free or $10. Is that what it is?
I don't.
Butyl costs $10.
$10.
And then counseling is free.
Yeah. So you didn't even have to go off campus. You didn't have to drive.
I was on
car.
medication from home, and then I said this back and forth over the phone is too difficult.
Sure.
Let me go see a doctor here, and we were just been in contact through about 3 years.
And Butyl is right there across from Sabisa, if I'm not mistaken, right? Mm-hmm. So super convenient on campus. It's available at all times. They will take you. This is there's not a stigma associated with going and getting help. I mean.
You shouldn't feel ashamed.
Yeah,
because
there's no weakness in this.
The strong thing to do is face the problem.
Mm-hmm. So then let's end with, as I said, what if I have a friend who is? I remember I was in seminary, and I had a friend come to us one morning. And he says, hey, I'm suffering from depression. And I remember being completely shocked and like thought, oh my gosh, is he like on suicide watch? Like I didn't know that was the only extreme. And so like I didn't really know how to look at him, talk to him, anything like that. So how can friends help in this situation? So Aaron, why don't you start with this?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is to just kind of understand them and understand their personality and their needs and their wants. I think an issue that I had whenever I told friends about this is that they were kind of on eggshells around me like all the time now. And didn't want to like joke with me anymore. Didn't want to, because they were just afraid that like something would happen. But I think just having that open conversation about it, and even just like how are you feeling, and maybe just notice patterns in your roommates or friends' behaviors. And if you are close enough to them, then I would kind of just open up that conversation. And maybe if you have had experiences in that, just be very open and honest, I think is the key to talking with people.
Yeah, I think there's an aspect where it's helpful to educate yourself on their situation as well as just anxiety, depression. I think that there's a place for all of us to at least know a little bit about it, so that we can be helpful. And then the other thing I would say is just don't be scared. If your friend comes and says that they're struggling with mental health, like, don't be scared that they're crazy. Don't assume anything. Really just sit down and I think listening is just huge, and be intentional about like asking, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
I don't want to
help you?
I don't want to overstep, but what can I do?
Yeah. I mean, the data shows that probably you or your roommate is going to suffer from
or both
depression or anxiety, and so if you're not, count your blessings in that, and realize that you have friends very close to you that are. I've learned a lot from both of you guys, and I am supposed to be the support and the kind of the adult in the situation, and I don't know what to do when I've had both of you call me and go, hey, this is what's going on right now. I'm very depressed right now, or I'm very anxious right now. The only thing I've learned is just I'm here with you, and I can't fix you. I know when we first started in this journey, Aaron, it was, well, what's making you anxious? That's not right, Aaron. That's stupid. Don't believe that. I can prove this wrong. Logic doesn't, like this illogical brain chemistry and thoughts isn't going to be beaten by logic. Here. And so what I've learned is just presence. Being with you, just kind of walking alongside you.
I will add that presence is really important, but there are there are techniques that you can seek out from mental health professionals that are really helpful as well. And
for both the friend and
more as the
more
person.
Yes, because I know you've figured and learned some things.
Yeah, because I did about a year of weekly sessions with like a psychiatrist. And, there are like techniques that help, but you're right that it's more than just logic behind it.
So, well, guys, I really appreciate it. I know that whether we are happy about it or not, this is going to benefit our students.
For sure.
Thank you for being vulnerable. This is what we're here to do, to be a resource to students and to walk with them. And so those that are listening or watching with us, thank you for joining with us on this Ask an Aggie podcast. We have plenty of episodes coming your way, but hopefully for those of you that are hurting and in need of help, that today was a encouragement to seek it, and that people will be healthier because of it. We'll see you later.